Ready or not, here it comes. You can't hide. It's COVID-19 in the Tennessee Titans. Hey, let me stop singing because I'm not happy about this shit. Tennessee Titans, you undisciplined mother... Who else could it be? Me, your man, Louie T. Welcome to the 95th installment of the LouieTeeNetwork podcast. I, of course, am your set man, Louie T. Thank you for joining me. We got a hell of a show today because we got a lot to discuss. It's Wednesday, so you guys know what that means. You already know what that means. Gonna let you guys take over the podcast today with some social media maneuvers. We'll get to that a little bit later on in the show. We'll preview the Thursday night. Look, I'm not looking forward to this shit any more than you are, okay? Broncos and Jets. Okay, so the Broncos are reportedly going to start Brett Rippon at quarterback. Can't say I'm excited about this, man. I told you the Jets are the worst team in football. I don't want to watch these guys on national television. I'll watch the game so you don't have to. But we'll talk about that a little bit later on in the show as well to wrap things up. But obviously, the story that sent shockwaves through the league yesterday was the dirty, nasty, funky-ass Tennessee Titans trying to infiltrate this game with some nonsense that we've been running from since the word go, and that's COVID-19. First positive tests have been found, and now we've got a game that's been postponed. We'll see what the hell's going to happen, but that's going to be our gym dropping session today, so let's jump right straight into it. Let me drop this gym on your melon. Open your mind, let your conscience be free. You're now rolling with your man, Louie T double E. Let me open you up, get you thinking a little bit. So the Tennessee Titans have our first outbreak of COVID-19. And look, we knew this was going to happen at some point. But, you know, we were going on our merry, jolly way, living our lives in pure ignorance and bliss of this COVID-19 pandemic. Football was back. We hadn't had any issues. All tests had come back negative. Everything in the world was right. And then the Tennessee Titans and their stinking asses couldn't seem to do the things that everybody else in the league seemed to be doing, which is being disciplined, playing football, going home, coming back to the facility, then going back home. Somebody did something. And again, we don't know exactly how this transpired. They could have come in contact with a family member who was being reckless. And by being in contact with that family member, they themselves put everybody else at risk. I don't know exactly what happened, but I can tell you this much. This is the beginning of what could be the end of our 2020 NFL season. Now, I'm not going to overreact. It's one team. And now we don't know what's going on with the Vikings. They played against the Titans on Sunday. They could have some players infected, and we could find out later on in the week that they have 5 players that have tested positive for COVID-19, and 4 of their staff members have tested positive for COVID-19 as well. But both of those teams right now have been quarantined from their facilities. They're not allowed to step back into their facilities until Saturday at the earliest, and that's when the NFL will have multiple test results from all of these players and staffs. They call them Tier 1 and Tier 2 employees. Tier 1 are coaches and players. Tier 2 are the people that handle these guys and are around them, like the staff and equipment managers and things of that nature, the medical staff. Those are Tier 2 employees. All of them have been summoned away from the facilities of the Titans and the Vikings. And so they'll find out more about those test results, and they'll have multiple test results so that they can make sure that you don't get a false positive or a false negative, and make sure that everything is clear for these teams to return to their facilities and kind of get back to normal, regularly scheduled programming. But right now, everything's upside down. And, you know, it'd be one thing if the Titans were 1-2 or 0-3. This is a 3-0 football team that's effing up right now. And so hopefully this is a one-off, and this is the Titans just going rogue. And I told you, you're dealing with a bunch of young guys. And this is what I'm talking about. All right. Last week, they beat Jacksonville, who was 1-1, and it was a really dramatic win. Come from a 30-33 win, or 33-30 win, excuse me. And the last second field goal, all three of their wins have been last second field goal wins, where a game winning field goal was kicked at some point by Steven Gostkowski. But last week, they were able to get the win over Jacksonville. This week, they get the win over the Minnesota Vikings in dramatic fashion, 31-30. And so after these wins, you think one or two of these guys aren't going to step out? Man, let's go to the club tonight. And again, I don't know that that's exactly what happened and how it played out. I don't know how these guys came in contact with someone who had COVID-19. But look, if you're doing the things that you're supposed to do, and your family is doing the things that they're supposed to do, and you're surrounding yourself with people who aren't living reckless lifestyles right now, you shouldn't be coming in contact with someone who has COVID-19. It's really hard to get it if you're not putting yourself in those positions, and people around you aren't putting themselves in that position. Someone along that chain that you have around you, someone broke the chain, okay? Someone stepped out and did something they weren't supposed to do. Someone that they came in contact did that. And so you've got to be mindful in this situation about not only the people that you're around, but what your behavior can do to others and how it impacts everyone else around you. And so I told you, it's going to be hard in this league because it's more than any other sport. It's more than baseball. It's more than basketball. And in this particular sport, you're talking about 53 guys on a weekly basis that you got to hope do the right thing. And that's all you're going off of, an honor system here. Hoping that these guys understand the impact and the magnitude of, hey, we're done with practice today. Go home. Don't go to the club. Don't go to a bar. Go home. All right? It's hard to get 53 guys on 32 different teams to follow directions. And I know that sounds really hard for some of us to fathom. And it's hard for some of us to fathom and hard for some of us to understand because, of our situations, but at the end of the day, these are young guys. They're really, really young guys. Some of them still not mature, and everyone doesn't mature at the same rate. I tell you this all the time. It's just like careers. Every guy doesn't step into the league and get it at the same time. Some guys need 3-4 years. Look at Ryan Tannehill. He's a great example. I mean, who thought he was going to become the quarterback that he's become? Took him a while. Took him 6-7 years into his NFL career. Same thing for Alex Smith. Didn't look like he was going to live up to that first round billing. Took him about 6-7 years into his career before he finally started playing consistent football. And then other guys hit the ground running. They come in and they start slinging the rock around and they just get it. Everyone's not the same. So I don't know the extent of this Titan. Look, I think another player was tested positive for COVID-19 for the Titans today. So I think that brings the grand total to 4 players now. I think they had another 5 staff members. So I think the number is now 9, if I'm not mistaken, for the Titans in terms of players and staff members that have tested positive for COVID-19. So look, man, this could be the beginning of the end, or this could just be a one-off. This could be an isolated incident, and we could still be okay. But I told you before the season started, and I told you I wasn't moving off of this spot, even though just last week I had a gym dropping session thanking the players, okay? Applauding the players. And this is why I did that. And this is why I felt that way, because it's so easy for one clown to mess it up for everybody else. All it takes is one. Just one idiot decides that I'm going out tonight. To hell with everybody else says. I'm going out tonight. I don't play anyway. You know what I think? It's going to end up being one of these practice squad goons. It's going to be one of these dudes barely on the squad that thinks, I don't matter, so I'm going to go out and I'm going to kick it tonight. I'm telling you, it's not going to be one of these starters. It's going to be one of these practice clown squads, goons and clowns that's going to end up messing it up for everybody else. And then he's going to walk into his linebacker room, and then the other 6 guys that are in there, they're going to get it, and then they're going to spread it to the rest of the defense. And that's how this happens, So let's just hope it's just, like I said, a one-off. And it's an isolated incident. And that the Vikings are fine. Let's hope that their game doesn't get canceled and postponed this week. Let's hope we get great news on their front and that they weren't impacted by the Titans this weekend. And let's hope that they're able to play their game on Sunday the way that they were supposed to. And that the only game postponed is Titans and Steelers. And that was supposed to be a big matchup this week. 2 3-0 teams. That was a big game this weekend. Now, they're still going to play it, it looks like. But it's going to be sometime during the week, next week. So they're thinking Monday, maybe Tuesday. But that's going to alter the schedule. And I wonder if they're going to say, hey, look, this is not our problem. You guys did this. Maybe they say to the Steelers, look, you didn't do anything wrong here, so we're not going to punish you. So you can play on Monday. We'll move your next game to Monday. Now, that's going to punish the team that they're playing because now they're going to turn around and have a short week when they weren't preparing to. But they may say to the Titans, no, you still got to play on Sunday. We don't give a shit. You did this to yourself. They're probably not going to do that. They're probably going to have both of those teams play. Let's say that the game ends up being on Tuesday. They're going to probably have those teams turn around and play again on Sunday, which it sucks, to be honest with you. But at the end of the day, what can you do? The NFL knew that this was a distinct possibility and that this was going to take place at some point. This was going to happen. You're going to get positive tests. If you came into the season thinking that we were going to have a full 17-week season and not have positive tests, not have postponed or canceled games, not have to have teams forfeit or whatever the case may be. If you thought that that was a realistic possibility, you fell and bumped your damn head along the way somewhere this summer. Because you had to know that we were going to get positive tests at some point and that we were going to have games impacted, teams impacted, all right, the season potentially impacted. And look, flu season hasn't even begun yet. It hasn't even begun yet. When guys show up to the facility with a temperature of 100.4 and they don't have COVID, but they have the flu, they still got to take their ass home. In the past, if you showed up at the facility with 101 temperature, but you could still function, guess what? You were going to still practice and you were still going to be a part of the game plan and they were going to keep it pushing. Not this year. You got a temperature, you got to take your ass home. So we haven't even gotten the flu season yet, where you're not even sure if this guy has COVID or the flu yet. You just know he's not feeling well and he's got a temperature, a low-grade fever. So we sent him home. God damn it, Tennessee. You dirty bastards, you. Okay? You're trying to come for something that I love so much and that we've been running from since the start of this season. And we've done a hell of a job. And that's why I applauded the players last week for doing a hell of a job. And now you're trying to piss all of that away. Hopefully, they're able to nip this in the bud. And I hope the other 31 teams around the league are paying attention and say, you know what? We don't want to be them. We don't want to be the team that brings this entire season crumbling down to its knees. We don't want to be that team. All right? Because right now, the Tennessee Titans are the pariahs of the league. They're dirty. I'm looking at the Titans out of the side of my eye like, you guys sicken me. You disgust me. You stinking dirty. They should dock them a win for this. They should be 3-1. Don't even let them play. Give the Steelers the win. Make them forfeit. And let's just move on with the season. Like, you want to be reckless? You want to have guys that don't follow the rules? You need to pay for that shit. Okay? God damn it, Tennessee. Anyway, I digress. I don't want to spend too much time on this because, again, it's a one-off right now. The rest of the league is going to continue to do the things that they need to do. The Steelers said, look, I know we're playing the Titans this week, but we're going to just continue having practice and going about the game plan and doing the things that we normally would do in preparation for a Sunday game. So the only two franchises right now that have been impacted are the Vikings and the Titans. And unfortunately, the Vikings are like, we didn't do anything wrong. We just came in contact with a reckless team, and we're paying for it. Because they're 0-3, and they're going to another 0-3 team's facility this week trying to get a win. And they're like, we need all of the practice we can get. We need all of the week of preparation that we can get to play our game to try to get off the schneid. So this is impacting us, and we didn't even do anything wrong. So, it's unfair to the Vikings, but I told you before the season started. And we're not going to have the whole conversation about fair versus unfair, because I told you I had a whole podcast, a whole gym dropping session. And the whole episode was titled Stop Bitching. Stop Bitching. You know why I titled it Stop Bitching? Because we knew that this year was going to be unfair. And so I don't want to hear about fair or unfair this year, because we already knew. You knew what you were signing. I said, look, if you're a fan of the NFL, you know what you're signing up for. You know what you're putting your John Hancock on, okay? You already know. You already know what you're putting it on. You already know that you're signing a contract to watch something that's not going to be fair this year for all 32 teams. And so the Vikings, I'm sorry, you just got caught up in the wash. You did nothing wrong, but this year it's just not going to be fair. And so the Titans effed up, and you got to pay for it. Same with the Steelers. They did nothing wrong. Your game is getting pushed back, and that's going to alter it's not going to hurt you in week number 4. No, that's not where you're going to pay for this. You're going to pay for this with a quick turnaround for week 5. That's when it's going to hurt you. You're going to still be fine for week 4. You're getting extra rest. You're going to come back from this week 4 game, however, and have a quick turnaround after a Monday or a Tuesday game, and you got to quickly turn around and prepare for your next opponent with 1 day less of rest, possibly 2, depending on whether this game is played on a Monday or a Tuesday. So we'll see what happens. But at the end of the day, this is the first of what may be many F-ups around the league. And just a little bit of a chink in the armor, just a slight one. Not much to get alarmed about. Don't sound the alarm. Last week, we had a podcast episode about break in case of an emergency. Don't break the glass yet. All right. It's not an emergency yet. But we're all on alert now. We're all looking around like, could this be the start of the end? Could this be the beginning of the end of the 2020 season? Let's hope not. I'm not making any definitive statements, because I was one of those people that didn't think we would get through a full 16 game slate, a full 17 weeks of football and playoffs and a Super Bowl and crown a champion this year. I didn't think it would get done. I still don't. And this doesn't make me feel any more confident that it will. So with that being said, let's get to social media maneuvers. All right. So let's get to your comments. Remember, if you're out there, first and foremost, I got to thank you guys for joining me. This is a midday podcast. Some of you are at work. Some of you got school. Some of you got shit to do. I get it. All right. Not the most convenient time of the day to have a podcast, but you're still joining me and chopping it up with your man, Louie T, and I greatly appreciate you. So with that being said, if you want your comment read on the air, first of all, if you're new to the show, welcome. All right. Thank you for joining us. Secondly, make sure you subscribe to the Louie T Network. Make sure you turn on that notification bell so you don't miss a thing. And make sure you like the video, okay? Hit that like button. Show your man some love. But if you're out there and you want your comment read on the air, the fastest way to do it, to jump to the front of the line, is the Super Chat, okay? So Super Chat is the first and most efficient way to have your comment read. But after that, if you want to have your comment read, use the hashtag LouieTLive. Okay, hashtag LouieTLive, so I know you're addressing your comment to me. If it's pertinent, I will read it. If it's some trash, I'm just going to skip over it. So just so you know. So why didn't you read my comment? I used the hashtag. You didn't read my comment because your comment was stupid. That's why. Okay, and it didn't have anything to do with anything that we need to be talking about on this podcast. So just letting you know. All right, I don't give a shit if you get mad. If your comment doesn't have anything to do with anything, I'm going to skip over it. But if you want your comment read, use the hashtag LouieTLive, as we'll be reading as many of these comments as possible if they are pertinent here on the social media maneuvers segment. So with that being said, let's get to your comments, man, and see what you guys have to say. What up, Carlton Haskins, man? Appreciate you. Captain Spartan 04 says, if my Steelers lose this game, I'll never hear the end of it, both here and online and in person, because I live next to a lot of Titans fans. Here's the thing. I don't think this is going to impact your preparation for this game. And I think you're actually going to be benefited by getting more time to prepare for the Titans, if anything. I think where this is going to hurt you as a Steelers fan is in week number 5, where you have a quick turnaround if, this game is played on a Tuesday, for instance. If it's on Monday, look, teams play on Monday all the time. You know about the short week. That's easy to adjust to. This is a little bit different. This is the equivalent of having a Sunday game and then having a Thursday night game. If you play on Tuesday, it's such a rapid turnaround, and it's a shock to the senses because you're not getting that extra day that you normally get to prepare, and guys aren't getting that extra day that they need to rest their bodies and recuperate. It'll be a little bit different from a Monday night game versus playing on a Tuesday. So I'm not turning down, and that probably will be a televised game. I'm not turning down free football. If you're going to offer up some bonus football that I wasn't going to get on primetime television, I'm all for it. Let me have it. But the last time, when we had Hurricane Katrina and games got displaced, they didn't put those games on television. They were still local, games. So we still may not get these games. I hope they just say, hey, NFL Network, you're not doing anything. Put the game on your channel. I'd love to see it. But at the end of the day, I don't think you're going to lose this game because of all of the distractions surrounding it. If you're the better team, you'll find a way to win. But if you're living in Titans country or you're living close to a bunch of Titans fans, good luck. You're going to need it. That's a good football team right now. They're beatable, but so are you. So somebody's O has to go. We just didn't expect it to be this way. So we'll see what happens. Kevin, the PRF, says, Louie T needed an extra 20 minutes of makeup and hair. No, I did not. Thank you very much, Kevin. Okay. I was doing my Patreon videos, and I was posting those onto the Patreon platform. So that's what I was doing. That's why I had to keep pushing back the time, because I thought I would be ready by 12:30. And then I realized my videos ran a little bit longer, so I had to push it back. Thank you very much, Kevin. Captain Spartan says, by the way, this game will determine what position we draft in the second round. Tyson Alualu and Vince Williams will be playing the game that determines their future with us. We can't pay everyone. You're right. I think that Vince Williams is the guy you have to keep. Obviously it's going to be about how much money is it going to take to keep Vince Williams in Pittsburgh. But Tyson Alualu is getting up there in age. I don't think you're going to have to spend as much on him. And even if you do, how much money do you really have to pay for a run-stopping interior defensive lineman? So he'd be the cheaper of the two options, but he's also older, I believe. Vince Williams is a lot younger. It'll be interesting to see what they decide to do there. You're right, you can't pay everybody. Captain also says, first round, we're getting an offensive tackle. Our starting left and right tackles are in a contract year, and our current right tackle has 1 year left on his deal. Yeah. At some point, you have to plan for the future, along the offensive line. You have to do that in advance a lot of times, too. While your guy, like the Eagles did with Andre Dillard, even though he's not playing right now, you don't want to wait until you don't have an answer at left tackle. You draft that guy while you still have someone there and allow that guy to prepare to take over the mantle, if you can. Some teams go through a whole year, play musical chairs at the tackle positions, and then draft a guy. You don't ever want to put yourself in a position, at any position for that matter, not just offensive tackle, but any position. You don't want to go into the draft desperate, needing that position, because then that's when you make mistakes. That's when you reach for players. And when you're a good team like the Steelers, more likely than not, you're not going to be drafting in the top 10 or the top 15 or even the top 20 for that matter. With Roethlisberger healthy, you're more likely than not going to be drafting 25 or later in the draft. And that means you're getting whatever's left. And, with the tackles are like quarterbacks in the first round of the draft. They go quick. They're not going to be any tackles really worth naming once you get back to 25 or 26 or 27. You know, that's why Seattle for all these years has had trouble really outfitting their offensive line, because you're drafting 28, 29. Guess what? All the tackles are gone. Now you're reaching for a Jermaine Ifedi at that point. That's how you end up with a Jermaine Ifedi and a failed first round pick as a tackle that has to kick inside the guard. Like, that's not what you're looking for. If you want an elite tackle, a lot of times, and the Steelers, I give them credit. Rooney and company have done a great job of identifying talent elsewhere. A lot of times their tackles aren't first round picks. The Kelvin Beachums of the world and the Villanuevas. Villanueva was an undrafted guy. Like, they find tackles. So if anybody can find a tackle to come in and start and not have to spend a top 15 draft pick to do it, it'd be the Pittsburgh Steelers. But we'll see what happens. Got a super chat here from Alonzo Yarborough. Thank you for the super chat, Alonzo. Greatly appreciate you. Alonzo writes, do you think the Titans are being punished for their social justice video they aired at the beginning of the season? No, I don't think this is that at all, because remember, the Dolphins did a similar thing. You know, other teams around the league had social justice videos that actually criticized the league. The Dolphins were very critical of the league and called their actions, they called their actions, what was the term they used? Pretty much they called them insignificant, like token shows of signs of change, so to speak. Like, yeah, you're just doing this to appease us as players, but you're not actually looking to do something that's going to foster change. The Dolphins were more critical than any other team in the league. So I don't think this has anything to do with the Titans' stance on social injustice and how they felt with the video they put out before the season, because the Dolphins, if anybody would have been punished, it would have been them. This was just the Titans being reckless here. You know, some guys, and again, I don't know how reckless. You know, did they come in contact with somebody else that was being reckless? Or were they themselves being reckless, and now they've impacted their team negatively, and the league negatively for that matter? I don't know. That's a really good question. We probably will never know the answer to that, as to how these Titan players ended up with COVID-19 and how it spread throughout their organization. But at the end of the day, we know the Titans did some things wrong here, and it seems like they didn't follow protocol properly either, because I was reading an article, and I don't know how true this is, because so much of this information is still coming out, and then you get this, and then you get that, and then you get this story, and then you get that story. But it seems like one of their players had tested positive, so they left him home. He did not travel with the team against the Vikings. But if you had a positive test, shouldn't that delay everything? If you had one positive test, shouldn't you say, all right, hold on, pump the brakes? We need to figure out, and obviously everybody tested before Saturday's game or Sunday's game, but they tested on Saturday. They didn't get those results. So if somebody really did test positive, and I don't know this to be a fact, I can't confirm nor deny this, but I was reading an article in which they said someone had tested positive earlier in the week. If they knew that, then this should have been reported sooner, and they should have never played against Minnesota on Sunday. But I don't know how true that is. So, for whatever it's worth, I don't think the Titans are being punished for their social justice video that they put out before the season started. I think they're being shown, they're being looked at as an example, and the league they're using them as an example. This is how you don't handle this situation. All right, don't do it the way the Titans did it, or you'll F around and have us having to move a whole bunch of stuff around. Do it the way that we've set out for you. We've created this whole manual for you guys to navigate through this really unique season. Follow it. There's protocols set in place. Follow them. Use them. So we'll see what happens. Thank you for that super chat once again, Alonzo Yarborough. I got another one here from Sher Lewis. Thank you for the super chat, Sher, who writes, Turner improved his play calling every week so far. I won't be surprised if he puts those plays in that require Haskins to look off the defense this week. I hope so. I mean, he can't put in plays that force Haskins to look off the defense. Haskins needs to do that himself. He knows pre-snap what kind of look he's getting, or at least he should. Now, the defense, they get paid too, And they get paid to disguise coverages and looks and try to disguise what they're doing and confuse young quarterbacks. And if you are a smart enough defensive coordinator, you can confuse a young quarterback. You can give them a look and make them think, oh, this is cover 2. No, it's cover 3. It looks like cover 2 because we showed you a 2 shell at the beginning of the snap. Then we had our safety drop down as a lurker, and you thought he was going to be open over the middle field, and he picks off this pass. But it's Dwayne Haskins' job to identify what the defense is in pre-snap, and then make a determination as to what side of the field he wants to work. And then if you know, okay, I want to work backside to Terry McLaurin on this skinny post, then you need to look front side and then come backside to the post because you know it's going to be there. Don't look front side, backside the entire time and then try to fit it into Terry because you've taken the safety over there. Now he's ready to make a play on the football. So it's not Scott Turner's job to get Dwayne Haskins to look off defenders. It's Dwayne's job to look off those defenders. There isn't a part of the play that says, hey, you got to look off the safety here. He's got to know that. That's an innate thing where you got to understand that if I don't look this safety off and he's getting a bead and a read on what I'm going to do and he gets a jump, he may beat the ball there and make a play on it. That's just common sense. He's got to understand that. And on the touchdown pass to Inman, the second one, he did it perfectly. You know, and if I'm the coaching staff, I'm banging into his head, hey, this is how we do it. You looked that safety off front side and then you came backside to Inman. The safety couldn't get over there in time. And I showed you that on the film. So hopefully we'll get that this week. We'll see. But I thank you for that super chat, Shar Lewis. As we get back to some of the comments in the comment section, Protect Sports writes, Steelers got a huge advantage, should win easy. Titans got caught lacking, and it's a shame. I don't know how they did this foolishness. Shaking my head. Again, it can happen so easily, and it doesn't take much. You know, it doesn't take much. But I talked about the amount of discipline and self-restraint that it shows with these young guys. Because, again, we're dealing with young people here. We're not dealing, everybody doesn't have a wife and a kid at home. You're not dealing with a bunch of 30-somethings or guys that, you know, because some people are mature. Some people marry their, you know, college or high school sweetheart and are married and have kids at 22. You know, some of these guys are mature. But there are many more of these guys that come into the league single or have a girlfriend, but they don't give a shit about that. You know, they're out here living their best life, living their athlete baller lives. And so there are more of those guys than there are the guys that go home to a wife and kids and they aren't out here running the streets. So that's why I talked about self-discipline and having the ability to say, you know what, this is bigger than me, just me. If I mess up here, I'm affecting more than just me. I'm affecting a lot of lives here. So I've got to make sure I do the right thing. It takes a lot of self-restraint and a lot of self-reflection to be able to understand that it's bigger than just you. You're affecting all of your teammates, the entire league, the coaching staff, all of the people that work for the organization. These people have families too that are counting on you to go home and do the right thing. Because if you're not working, they're not working. And if they're not working, they're not getting paid. So it's much bigger than just you. And some people get it, others don't. And unfortunately with the Titans, whether they did something wrong or not, we don't know. And I don't want to blame them. But somehow, some way, they came in contact with COVID-19, whether it was through another person or through them being reckless. Whatever the case may be, they now have it. Okay? So we're going to see what happens. But hopefully the rest of the league is taking notes and saying, we can't be the Tennessee Titans. I know in Major League Baseball, after that first outbreak with the Marlins, there was one slight little hiccup with the Cardinals, I believe, and maybe one more team. But the rest of the league said, hey, we're not doing that. We saw what happened to the Marlins, and we're not trying to do that. We're not trying to go through all of that. Hopefully that's the case in the NFL as well. You know, in the NBA, we knew they weren't going to have any issues because they were in a bubble. They isolated themselves. They could do that. These other sports can't do that. So you got to trust these players. And you're essentially going off an honor system. And I don't know if that's going to work for 17 weeks or not. We'll see. But we'll see if the Steelers get an advantage from this. I don't know if they really will or not. Obviously, they have the advantage. You're right from this standpoint. they have access to their team facilities. They're still going about practice, weight training, and all of the things that they've done to implement the game plan on a Wednesday, come out and start to execute it on a Thursday, Friday, kind of go through a walkthrough and kind of solidify everything. They're going through the motions the way they normally would on a game week. The Titans aren't. So from that standpoint, if the Titans can't come back into the facility until Saturday, which is being reported right now, and the game, let's say the game's on Monday or Tuesday, they're not going to be able to go through the week of practice that they normally would. They're going to have to do everything via Zoom. Zoom is cool, but you can't fully go through the motions on Zoom. You can only verbally express to them what you want done. And some guys don't learn through talking. They learn through actions. So I think from that standpoint, you're right. The Steelers do have an advantage. We'll see if they take advantage of that advantage in week number 4. Protect Sports also says, I think the Titans' luck is going to run out. 3 wins to a game-winning field goal. Can't keep it up forever, bro. No, you can't. They've been living dangerously. They could easily be 0-3 right now, but they're 3-0. And it's a fine line. I talk about this every year. It's a fine line in the NFL between 6-10 and 10-6. And it's games like the Titans have won. It's games like the ones the Titans have won this season that separate the 10-6 from 6-10 teams. We talk about the ball bouncing your way, okay? Ryan Tannehill threw the football to cornerback Holton Hill in week 3 against the Vikings. Threw it right to him. Game-clinching interception if he can catch. He's a DB. That's why he plays defense and not offense. He dropped the football. They ultimately get into field goal range and win the game 31-30. The ball has to bounce your way. If you're one of those teams, because the Titans, don't get it twisted, they're not an elite team. They're not the Chiefs. They're not the Ravens. They're not even the Steelers, okay? So when we look up at the standings, they're not going to be 12-4. They're not going to be 13-3. They're a 10-6 team. So they're right there on the cusp, right with everyone else that could either be 6-10 or 10-6. They're right in that mix, okay? And so the ball has bounced their way this season. Despite missing 4 kicks in week 1, you still win. Lucky you were playing the Denver Broncos. Had you been playing any other team in that division, you lose in week 1. But you were playing the Denver Broncos, so you won. And so you see how this thing works. The ball has bounced their way this year. They're 3-0. If the ball wasn't bouncing their way this year, they'd be 0-3 right now. They'd be the Atlanta Falcons. They'd be the Houston Texans. They'd be the Minnesota Vikings. But instead, they're 3-0. They're the Kansas City Chiefs. They're the Buffalo Bills. So you see how it goes. Dora Gunner says, need another NFC East roundtable so we can argue over who's the least trash in the division. Man, this division stinks again. Yes, it does. It's a damn shame too, because first of all, we knew that there was a potential for this. If the Eagles, all it took was the Eagles to not be good. I didn't see it coming. I didn't forecast that, but that's all it took, to be honest with you, because we knew the Giants and Washington weren't going to be very good this year. We knew that for a fact going into the season. Those two weren't in any good yet. They're young teams. They're trying to figure things out. They had no offseason. You knew those two teams were behind the 8 ball. What's been so surprising is the poor play of the Eagles to this point. They were the one team in the division that didn't have a coaching change. The Cowboys, the Giants, and Washington all had head coaching changes. The Washington football team made sweeping organizational changes. Hell, they even changed their name this offseason. Nothing's the same with that organization. So they were probably the furthest behind the 8 ball were the Washington football team. But the Giants were right there. And I said, roster-wise, the Giants are the worst in the division. And that's why I thought they were going to be the worst team in the division. And right now they look like it. But as bad as the Giants have been, they're 1 game out of first place. Let that sink in for a second. The Giants look like one of the worst teams in the league. And if they win on Sunday and everybody else loses, they're in first place. Think about that for a second. That's how bad this division is. The Eagles at 0-2-1. If they win on Sunday and the Cowboys and Washington both lose, they're in first place. Let that sink in. That a 1 2-1 team could be in first place. A 1-3 team could be in first place at the end of Sunday. But that's how bad the division is, man. It is a dumpster fire. And it's just a raging dumpster fire. I thought the Eagles would be better. Carson Wentz has regressed this season. They're not right for whatever reason, and it's just hard to put your finger on. They've had injuries, but everybody's got injuries. That's no excuse. They've been putrid this season, and it starts with Carson Wentz. He hasn't been right. But then you take it a step further and you say, well, what about Dallas? You know, I'm shocked that they're 1-2 right now. They could be 0-3. Think about it. The ball, and we talk about ball bouncing your way. If that onside kick does what the onside kick did on Sunday night with the Saints, they kicked the football the same exact way, but that ball turned on its side and then spun up on its nose and trickled out of bounds. If the Cowboys ball does the same thing, they're 0-3 right now, not 1-2. So the Cowboys could easily be 0-3 right now. So this division is tragically bad, and I don't see it getting much better. I do see the Cowboys eventually, because they've played a rough schedule. I mean, they played the Rams. They're 2-1 on the season. The Falcons are 0-3, but the Falcons are a much better than 0-3 team. Their record doesn't really indicate how good of a football team they are. And they should have lost that game, to be honest with you, as we all know. And then they played a 3-0 Seattle team. So, like, their schedule is going to ease up at some point. They're going to play the division at some point. And I think I expect the Cowboys to run away with this thing and hide when it's all said and done. I think they're going to win this division, and they're going to win it comfortably if the rest of the division continues to play the type of ball that they're playing. However, the Cowboys aren't great defensively themselves, and so I can easily see a situation and scenario in which they struggle, and we look up at week 11, and the leader of the division is 4-6. You know, we look up at week 11, and the leader of the division is, 4-5. It could easily happen. I mean, this division is so funky, but I digress. Captain Spartan says, why doesn't Kevin Byard get more national attention? Dude is a baller, and only actually NFL fans know about him. Because he plays in Tennessee. It's the same reason why Xavier Rhodes won Defensive Player of the Week, and half of NFL fans don't even know he's still in the league right now because he's no longer in Minnesota. The AFC South is the red-headed stepchild of the NFL in terms of divisions. Nobody really actually cares about that division outside of the fan bases of those four teams. And it's a shame because there's actually some good football going on in that division. But when you play in a division with Indianapolis, which there's not a massive market for Indianapolis Colts football, all right, and there's not enough star power out there with no Peyton Manning and no Andrew Luck. There's just not enough star power out there to make people care about Indianapolis Colts football. Then you look at Jacksonville. That's an SEC football town, not an NFL town. So nobody gives a shit about Jacksonville Jaguars football. And they're never good anyway. So that's even more reason not to care what's going on in Jacksonville. Then you look at the Titans. I've talked about for years, and this just stopped happening like 2 or 3 years ago. But I talked about for years. The most sleepiest team in the league was Tennessee. When I would watch all the games on Monday, any game that the Titans were in, I'd find myself and I'd have to watch the game literally 3 times because I'd start the game out and I'd be excited, and then midway through the second quarter, I'd fall asleep, and then I'd wake up with a little bit of drool right here at the end of the third, and then I got to go all the way back to the second quarter where I fell asleep at, and then I'd be up for like 3 minutes, and then right before halftime, I'd wake up with a crick in my neck, and now it's halfway through the fourth quarter, and I got to go all the way back to right before the halftime break, and I end up watching that game 3 times because the Titans were a sleepy team. And I used to say, any team in the league that goes to Tennessee, you always want to know, what the hell happened? How did we fall asleep behind the wheel, wake up with 5 minutes left in the fourth quarter, and we're in a 19-16 dogfight with the Titans? How the hell did that happen? Because they put you to sleep. Because that's what the Titans do. They put you to sleep, and then they find a way to beat your ass if you're not careful. So they're a sleepy team. They've gotten better, but it's Ryan Tannehill. How do you get excited about Ryan, even though he's playing really good football? I got to stop doing that. I have to stop doing that because he's actually playing really good football. But it's easy to fall asleep on the Tennessee Titans. And then the Texans are the only team with the main attraction in Deshaun Watson, but But their head coach is such a clown show that it diminishes what the Texans could actually be. And so it's easy to dismiss them as well. So I said all of that to say this. It's easy to not know what the hell is going on in the AFC South, which is why I try to keep you guys abreast of what's going on in that division, because not a lot of people pay attention to AFC South football. And that's a fact. You know, if you go around the league and you had NFL fans rank the divisions 1 to 8 in terms of importance and most excitement about that division, I bet you the vast majority of fans would rank the AFC South 8th. And I can't confirm nor deny that. That's just how I feel. Talking to fans, having been doing this for almost a decade, the fans that I come in contact with know more about all the other divisions and less about the AFC South than any other division in football. And it's a shame because, like you said, there are good football players like Kevin Byard. Deion Sanders, who covers the league for a living, didn't even know who Kevin Byard was. You know? When he tweeted at him. And Kevin Byard had to tell him, bruh, I just led the league. I'm an all-pro safety. I just led the league in interceptions. Put some respect on my name. Deion didn't even know who he was talking to. But that's what happens when you play in the AFC South. It's a shame. Kevin Dorrowfield says, "What's good, my man? Sorry, I ain't been around much. Work been crazy, and I read your comment, man. It's all good. Like I said, that's what the playback is for. You know, I love it when you're able to join me live. Always enjoy our interactions between each other. But I get it, man. Life comes at you hard sometimes. All right, and you got to take care of home first. I always tell y'all, go get your bread while it's there to be got. Okay, so if work comes calling, go do what you got to do to support you and yours." So he says, "You think Isaiah Wright's going to contribute more this season? He looked good on Sunday to me. Hashtag HTTWFT. Let's get it, guys." Yeah, I do think he's going to be a bigger part of the offense moving forward. Now, granted, he was a big part of the offense this week because of the limited exposure to snaps for Steven Sims. However, even with Sims coming back once he's a little bit more healthier, I think they're going to find ways to get Isaiah Wright involved in the offense. I think he showed them that he can handle the workload. Now, he lined up in the wrong spots a bunch of times in the game. And he's a rookie, and these things happen. It was his first real NFL action. But once he gets to the point where he knows where to be on the field, and there isn't this confusion, and they don't have to help him get lined up, and he knows where to go, I think they're going to be even more comfortable and confident putting him in the game and giving him more opportunities, because he showed them that he can handle the workload, and that when he has the football in his hands, he can be a really good football player for this team. So I think he's going to get more snaps, and you're going to see more of Isaiah Wright moving forward. Got another comment here. This one is from Harvey Mills, who says, "Although Washington is not expected to win against the Ravens, I'd really like to see Haskins wake up and not contribute directly to another L." I think we all would like to see that, but this isn't the week for that. Like, if you're looking for that, this isn't the week. The Ravens are pissed, okay? They are steaming worse than Willie Beeman right now. They looking to come out and put somebody's dick in the dirt. And it's just going to happen to be ours, and it's not going to be pretty. And it wouldn't shock me if they put up 40 this week. And that defense can be ferocious at times. They got a ball-hawking corner in Marcus Peters. I wouldn't be shocked if he picked off Haskins once or twice because Haskins is staring something down. We'll see, man. Look, these are the kind of games I like because there are no expectations for the team. I'm damn sure not expecting a win. I know that no one else around the league is expecting a win. So they can just go out and play free. I feel like when they expect to win or they feel like they've got a shot, they put a little bit more on their shoulders in terms of expectations, and they don't go out and play well. You know, nobody expected them to win in week 1 versus Philadelphia. Look how they played. Week 2, there was some expectations. Oh my God, look at this defense. They're going up against Kyler Murray. This should be a hell of a battle. And they stunk. And then the following week, they're like, hey, look, man, the Browns aren't all that damn good themselves. Both of these teams are 1-1. Why can't you go into Cleveland and win? And we should have won that game. But we didn't. Man, some injuries had something to do with that. But at the end of the day, the Ravens are much better, and they're going to prove it on Sunday. And I just hope he doesn't stink it up either. I'm with you, Harvey Mills. Door Gunner says, oh, already read that. Evan Cahill says, where do you see Terry McLaurin ranking among NFC East wide receivers? After Dallas's trio, I think that's where you start looking at Terry McLaurin. Now, I personally think he's better. He's better than the rookie already. So that's a fact. But I think he's better than Amari Cooper, personally. That's me. And most people wouldn't agree with that, and that's fine. Everybody's entitled to their own opinion. Right now, though, the only guy that I don't know if he's for certain better than, I think he's better than him, personally, again, but I'm biased, so you can't take my words and run with them. But the only guy that's performing at a higher level than him right now is Michael Gallup. To me, he's the best receiver the Cowboys have. He's even better than Amari Cooper. He had 6 catches for like 146 yards and a touchdown. And every time they seem to need a big catch, they're not throwing the football to Amari Cooper. When the ball's in the sky and your QB needs a guy, it's somebody. They're not throwing it to Amari. When the ball's in the sky, they're throwing it to Michael Gallup. With the game on the line versus the Rams in week 1, that wasn't a deep ball to Amari Cooper. That was a deep ball to Michael Gallup. When the Cowboys were in danger of getting blown out of that game, and they needed a big play, that didn't look to Amari Cooper. As a matter of fact, Amari Cooper was on the sidelines. He was looking for Michael Gallup, and he hit him for a deep ball for a touchdown. When Dak almost threw an interception, who was the guy that bailed him out? It should have been a pick, but it was Michael Gallup. I think he's the best receiver right now. So that's the guy that to me is most comparable to Terry right now. But I think Terry's the best receiver in the NFC East. I made a video saying that in the offseason. I think he's better than any of those Dallas Cowboy receivers, but I think it's a lot closer with those guys than anybody else. The Giants don't even have anybody in the discussion. Neither do the Eagles right now. So to me, Terry is the best receiver in the NFC East, but I'm biased. Maybe Michael Gallup is playing at a higher level right now, but he's also getting a higher level of quarterbacking as well with Dak Prescott, who's thrown for over 400 yards twice this season already. So we'll see. I said I'll go with Terry McLaurin. I'll take him every time. That's my guy. And Terry would have more yards, more touchdown grabs this season if Dwayne could hit him. He should have had a touchdown catch against Cleveland. He was open on a corner route. He missed him. I showed you that on the film breakdown. Okay, so he would have had more opportunities if Dwayne could get him the football. Got another comment here from Kevin Dorrowfield. Says, for anyone that's not on Patreon, the film breakdown is great and points out things that you miss watching the team. Thank you, Kevin Dorrowfield. I really appreciate that. So that's the perfect time for a Patreon plug. If you're not a patron, what are you waiting on? First of all, let me thank all of you for your patronage, the ones that already are on Patreon. I really appreciate that support. And I hope that the content that you're getting is satisfactory to your donation. I really appreciate that. But to take it a step further, if you're not on Patreon, again, a lot of content for Washington football team fans with the film breakdowns of both the offense and defense each and every single week. But to take it a step further, you get the NFL rookie wall, you get the NFL peak performers. Those are also exclusive to Patreon. And there are going to be some other things down the pipeline that I may decide to do that will be exclusive to Patreon for those of you donating a little bit more than everyone else. So if you're not on Patreon, there's more content there. So if you're not on Patreon, get on Patreon. The link to Patreon and becoming a patron of mine is down in the description of this and every single video that I do. So thank you once again, Kevin Dorrowfield. Anyway, that's it. Got no more comments. So I thank you guys for your social media maneuvers today. Now we're going to move into garbage time. And this is truly garbage time. I mean, this game on Thursday night is truly trash. You got the 0-3 New York Jets hosting the 0-3 Denver Broncos. They're going to start quarterback Brett Rippon reportedly in this ball game. And you're going to get Brett Rippon versus Sam Darnold. Yay! Can't wait. Awesome. And the Broncos are just as banged up as anybody else in the league. I mean, You think about the Chargers, they're a super banged up team. You think about the 49ers, they're a super banged up team. The Broncos are right there. I mean, every week somebody else is out for the season, it seems like, with this Denver Broncos football team. And it just seems to go from bad to worse for them every single week. And there are a lot of expectations for the Broncos this season, coming in here with a young team, with all the draft picks that they spent on the offensive side of the football, with Vic Fangio running that defense. You just felt like, man, with Von Miller and company and Bradley Chubb on the defensive side and Vic Fangio pulling the strings, why can't Denver find a way to get to 9-7 and capture that number 7, wild card spot this year in this new playoff seeding? Well, injuries before the season even got started, the injury reaper said, well, we ain't doing that with Denver this year. I mean, he snatched Von Miller from him. And then he said, week 1, oh, you thought I was playing? I said, you're not doing nothing this year. He snatched a couple more guys, but it wasn't until week 2 where he really got serious on them and snatched up their quarterback for a little while, and Drew Lock snatched up Cortland Sutton, who didn't play in week 1 due to an injury, snatched him up for the season. He came and snatched up Jarrell Casey, who was a big offseason acquisition via trade with the Titans in week 3. And so he's been really busy, man. Really, really busy with this Denver Broncos team. So they're a shell of themselves at this point. And they're going to move to Brett Rippon at quarterback away from Driscoll. And we'll see what Brett Rippon has. I know a lot of people that really like Brett Rippon at Boise State and thought that he was a guy that should have been drafted in the NFL draft. And so we'll see what he's able to do, and there's still a lot of talent in Denver. They still got some talented players on the offensive side of the football. They're still talent-rich team. It's just all young, and it's the blind leading the blind. And without a true defensive stopper on that other side of the ball to help while a young offense tries to figure it out, you're just not going to be able to win enough games. And so now they're going up against a team that is offensively challenged in the Jets. So they're going to have a shot. The Jets are just awful. But I'm going to tell you right now, if you're the Jets, if you can't beat Denver at home, I don't know if you're going to win any games this season. Like, this is the perfect game. And the NFL didn't set this up this way. They didn't know the Broncos were going to be over and the Jets were going to be over in week 4 when they put this game on the Thursday night slate, when they started making the schedule. They didn't know that somebody was going to get a win. Somebody was going to get off the schneid here in week 3 or 4. But that's essentially what this is. This is an elimination game. One of y'all got to get a win, man. We can't have both of y'all 9 weeks in 0-8. Can't have that. Somebody's got to get a win, and somebody's going to get a win. And I don't really know what the hell to do here. This is literally a flip a coin game, man. Home field doesn't matter. There aren't going to be any fans in the stands. I don't know what the hell to do here. I'm not going to lie to you. The Jets are just awful. If Jamison Crowder comes back and plays, that helps a lot. He's there again. If Jamison Crowder is your best player, your roster is very deficient and void of talent. And that's not a knock on Jamison Crowder. That's just a knock on the fact that he shouldn't be your best player. He's a good football player. He is not great. And that is the best that they have on offense right now. It's bad. It's real bad. All right. And Sam Darnold, I feel bad for him, even though I'm not a Darnold fan. I feel bad for him because there is nothing. When I tell you that cupboard is bare, that cupboard is empty. I mean, your back is and your stomach are touching. If you go into that cupboard trying to eat something and you say, man, what do they have in there? What goodies do they have? It's nothing in there. It's like an old bag of stale rice. And you may be able to cook it and eat it, man. But it's not much. You don't got nothing to put on it. Nothing to go with it. Hell, that rice has been in there for about 3 years. You're going to have to make it do what it do. There is nothing there for Sam Darnold. I feel bad for him. I really do. He had 3 interceptions on Sunday, and there ain't much help. There really isn't. So this game is going to be bad. It really is. I mean, I think the NBA Finals starts tonight. And if I'm not mistaken, Game 2 will be on Thursday. I wouldn't be upset if you said, you know what, I'm just going to pass on this game, and Louie T, I'll catch up with you on the overtime. You can tell me what happened. But I'm going to watch this NBA Finals. You'll have MLB playoffs as well. There's so much you could be watching other than this game. I'm not going to lie to you. If I didn't have to do this, I wouldn't. This is one of those games, and I tell you this, I don't pass up football. I don't pass up free football. I don't care how bad the game is. I would have still watched, even if I wasn't doing what I do. I'd still watch because I don't pass up free football. But damn, if I wouldn't have been channel surfing, like, okay, I'm going to go to this basketball game, and if it's good, I'm going to stay here for a while. Oh, I'm going to get back over to that football game and check it out. What I probably would have done is I would have had 2 TVs, one on the football game, one flipping back between baseball and basketball. But I don't know, man. This is a tough ask of a lot of NFL fans. This is a really tough. And this is the thing. You can't do this 2 weeks in a row. You got to spread these out. You gave us Miami and Jacksonville last week. That's a tough ask onto itself. But that was on the heels of a couple of solid games. The Bengals and Browns the week before was a nice shootout. And the week before that, you got the Chiefs and Texans. So you were due for a stinker on Thursday night, and we were okay with that. What you can't do is follow up the Florida funk that you put on us last week with this New York Jets Broncos disaster. You can't do that. You got to spread this out. This needs to be 3 or 4 more weeks down the road. You can't give us to us back-to-back weeks. They were wrong for this. But I can tell you this. The Jets will have a chance to win this football game because the Broncos are young, inexperienced, and not very good on offense. The Broncos will have a chance to win this game because the Jets are just bad. They're poorly coached, and they're a bad football team. So this is, again, a coin flip game. I don't know who's going to win right now. I'll have to sit down and analyze it. I'm not looking forward to this. In any event, that's going to do it for me. Your man, Louie T. I thank you guys for joining me here on the 95th installment of the Louie T Network podcast. Remember, if you haven't already done so, what are you waiting on? Subscribe to the Louie T Network for more great content. Turn on that notification bell so you don't miss a thing. And hit that like button on the way out if you haven't already hit it. As I've already mentioned, and my man Kevin Dorofield brought up earlier, once again, appreciate that. Kevin, hit me up on Patreon, man. Get this Patreon and this bonus content, man, that's out here. You know, whether it's the NFL Peak Performers or NFL Rookie Wall, or you're a Washington fan and you want this film breakdown, it's all here, you know, on Patreon exclusively. So look forward to chopping it up with you guys on Friday when I'll give you my picks for week number 4. We'll talk about the Thursday night leftovers from the disaster that is Broncos and Jets. And we'll start to look forward to the Sunday slate of games. And we'll talk about a lot of things. And we'll see where this COVID stuff heads. We'll probably have more developments by Friday. So we'll have a lot to discuss on Friday's show. Looking forward to chopping it up with you guys then. And before then, we'll have Thursday Night Football, and we'll also be covering Washington throughout the course of the week. Got a live show tonight, Washington Football Washington Football Nightly live tonight. So look forward to chopping it up with you guys at 8:30 tonight. And remember, if you want to play in the weekly pick'em pool, all right, that's a weekly pool that you get in. You submit your picks. The link is down below in the description to the website, LouieTeeNetwork.net. You then go there and then click on the LTN Exclusives tab. And then you go down to the bottom of that page and you will find the weekly pick'em pool. I'm just going to put it down in the description of this video and all the rest of my videos during the course of the season. So you know that if you just click on this link, it'll take you directly to where you can play in the pool. So hey, get in. If you think you know the league, so many of you, I get these every week. Oh man, I went 14-2 this week. I don't want to hear the shit. I don't want to hear it. I don't care if you went 15-1 or 16. I don't want to hear it. If you didn't play in my pool or if you're not in one of my leagues, I don't want to hear it. Okay? Get in the game. Get in the game. Okay? Simple as that. Don't sit on the sidelines and be a Monday morning quarterback and tell me how good you have how good of a pulse you have of this league. Prove it. Play Put your money where your mouth is. Okay? I won the pool last week, just so you know. I hate to toot my own horn. No, I don't. I won last week. My first of the season, first of many to come. Okay? I look forward to winning multiple times this year, as I always do. Because again, nobody knows this league better than I do. Nobody. I feel confident in saying that. All right? I'm a professional football watcher. I'm a dangerous, dangerous man. Okay? But until next time, you guys enjoy. Remember, if it's not your man T, it's not the best NFL coverage it could be. Until next time, you guys have a good one. Stay safe. Don't be like the Tennessee Titans. Wear your damn mask, okay? Stay safe. Stay out the way. And we'll reconvene at a later date and time. You guys have a good one. Louie T.